Welcome back to another episode of The Conscious Artist, a safe space for conversations around mental health awareness for musicians, artists, and all human beings. I am your host, Pallavi Mahidara. I'm a concert pianist and teacher, and I am absolutely thrilled that you are joining us today. My hope for this show is that it will give all of us a sense of solidarity and knowledge that we are not alone, and together, through these conversations, we can create more awareness and change for a healthier future. I am beyond excited for my conversation with today's guest. She and I just finished a week of chamber music together in Iceland, and I'm thrilled that she's here to have a conversation with us. We first met when we attended Marlborough Music Festival together in 2010. She is a phenomenal cellist, artist, and person. And normally, I like to share my guests' accomplishments, but instead, I want to read a quote from her website because it is so rare to read an artist's personal mission statement in their bio. She states, "I am a musician driven by exploration. My passion is for asking questions, searching into the unknown in musical dialogue with audiences and innovative artists. As this examination has the capacity to create meaningful and powerful experiences that can touch the soul and can only exist in the moment, my mission is to create spontaneous compositions, intuitive performances, and experimental collaborations that can cut beyond words and deeply connect us." Please join me in welcoming Sæunn Thorsteinsdóttir to The Conscious Artist. Sæunn, I'm so happy to have you here with us today.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. This is amazing. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. And I know that I didn't say your name super well, so can you please say it for our guests?
Sure. So in Icelandic, it's Sæunn Thorsteinsdóttir, but most of my American colleagues call me Sæunn Thorsteinsdóttir.
Okay, I'm going to practice it, I promise. It's really a pleasure to have you here. I'm so happy that we're doing this, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation and continuing what we started to talk about in Iceland.
Me too.
So you were born in Iceland, and you moved to the US when you were about 7 years old, right?
Yes. Yep.
Could you tell us a little bit about how music and the cello found you?
Yes. So my mother was a violinist and was a violin teacher, and she had me very young. And so she would just take me to her rehearsals and I would be in the corner and, while she was practicing, I would just be there. And so when I was about 4 or 5 years old, I started to get really, really interested in just being a part of what was going on. And so my mom didn't want me to play violin because she didn't want to have that kind of relationship. To her credit, being a mother is enough. So she sort of pawned me off on a friend of hers who was the cello teacher. And so I actually think I wanted to play the harp at the time, but there weren't any small harps to play. So the cello sort of what was there for me, and I fell in love with it.
Wow, I love that. I loved what you said about being a part of everything. Could you expand a little bit on that? Was it about being part of the music community, being part of an orchestra, being part of making something and creating something?
Sort of all of the above. I mean, what you just said. I mean, I think at the time I didn't realize, you don't question things, whether that's normal or not. These were just the experiences that I was having. I was hearing music. I was going to rehearsals. I was seeing her practice. I was seeing her teach. So I think to me that was just normal. But then actually, when I came to the States, I didn't know any English. And so being with other kids that could play and sort of connect with them through, we were playing similar pieces. I was doing the Suzuki method, so we would have group class. It was a way to connect with other people without the language barrier. And so that was a really big part of why I stuck with it, because with that change of moving from Iceland to the States, it was something that I could connect with others.
That's really interesting because I think often big life changes can cause us to feel very ungrounded and unstable. And when we have something that can root us and make us feel safe in a way, that tends to end up being a very important part of our lives, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that now looking back, I think that was a huge part of why I'm still playing today. I mean, I've had ups and downs with the cello, as I'm sure most people have with their instruments, but I think there's something that imprinted on me with such a big move that was a way that I could be a part of something. And I didn't feel as isolated. I felt part of the group.
Mm. I know that you've recently also had another big move, right? You went
Yes.
from Seattle to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious to know, like, has there been something that has accompanied you along with this move that has sort of become an important part in your journey of this move?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Music has definitely been something that has sort of grounded me, stabilized me, and especially, I would say, one of the tools that really has kept me grounded is my improvisation practice.
Mm.
It's something that I can sort of come back to. It's, sort of reflecting what I'm going through, check in with myself, check in with my true expression, right? So many things in my career are playing other people's music and is very sort of project based. Like take our week in Iceland, we were playing certain pieces and then, we rehearse and then it's over.
Mm.
And then I'm on to the next thing, I'm doing another recording next week with different repertoire. And so I think having the stability of being able to come back to a practice that's going to be different every day, but having that has been really helpful in grounding me.
So I really want to get deep into improvisation. It's something that I feel for myself that I have no talent in. And I used to say that I have no talent in. And as I'm getting older and with you and I speaking about it a little bit in Iceland, I'm starting to realize more and more that I think it's that I don't have access to it. I haven't accessed it.
Yeah.
I haven't accessed that part of me.
Yes.
When did you start improvising?
I can probably think of about a handful of moments in my life where I improvised and I sort of didn't realize I was doing it, or it was sort of a flash in the pan kind of thing. I can sort of point to a workshop that I did or, like little things like that. But when I really started to improvise was about 2017. I was at the University of Washington and some of my colleagues, viola professor Malia Watress and composer and pianist Richard Karpin, really helped me to sort of explore that more because it's part of their practice. And so on one of the concerts that we were doing at the University of Washington, she sort of asked if I wanted to do a piece with Richard Karpin. And he sort of said, I don't really have anything to compose, but we could improvise together. And at that moment, it was like, wait, you want me to do what?
Oh my God.
You want me to get on stage without knowing what we're doing at all?
Oh my God, I would be terrified. I have nightmares about that.
I know, right? It's a recurring nightmare for us musicians. But there was something about it that really, really excited me too. There's a fine line between sort of like excitement and terror. And it was sort of riding that fine line for me. So we got together, we practiced. We would get together like once a week for months and practice improvisation together, sort of building a shared language, building trust, building a structure that we could build together. It was really amazing. I mean, I think I look at that as sort of a catalyst for me, for seeing what could be possible with improvisation. And so, it took it away from just my own private sort of check-in with myself, where I call them the sound doodles, where I sort of doodle with sound, every day just to kind of like warm up my fingers, just sort of be present, taking it from that kind of practice to a real intentional, almost like meditative space where I can really dive deep into the emotions and the sounds that are true and authentic to me at that moment.
I love that. And I love that you said meditation because I wanted to ask you, I suppose when you start to explore improvisation and just allowing yourself to be free without judgment, without control, without fear, without worries, I guess, I'm guessing it can take you into a meditative state.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, that's what it feels like. It feels like being in flow, where you're sort of in that very, very present moment. You're not thinking about the future. You're not thinking about the past. You're not having thoughts about what you're doing. You're just literally being present. And it's sort of, I often talk about it like it's in a state of receptivity rather than a state of doing.
Feels like it takes the pressure off.
Yes, because actually most of it is just listening to what's happening, like what's going on externally, but actually I would say probably mostly internally, just like listening to what my body wants to express. And I'm not thinking about what my hands are doing, or I'm not thinking about like, oh, I have to move my bow this way, or I want to play this note. That's the sort of unconscious and trust that I have to sort of have with my body to say, okay, I know my body is going to do what is best, what is right, what is true in this moment.
My like overthinking cognitive mind wants to understand how to get to that place. And I know that that's not the right way to find it.
No, but it takes time. I mean, I've been meditating for like years, I would say more than 10 years. And I do think what you said about meditation, I think it is very much sort of training, right? To be able to access that place of
just being, right?
Yes, exactly.
I think you're right. Practice seems to be the key, because even for me with meditation, when I have been more regular about meditating, there are times where you reach that state of just being, that flow state, that almost asleep, but not.
Yes, exactly.
And it's really interesting because in the past, I used to feel that I didn't like guided meditations because I would often be too distracted by the person's voice.
Yeah.
Either I would be like listening to what they're saying or their accent, or maybe I just didn't like the way they spoke. You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it was always something that was a little bit disturbing. And then I was trying silent meditation, and that would sometimes work, but I feel like I would give up more quickly with silent meditation.
Yeah. I think especially for us musicians, because it's an audio thing and our ears, the sensitivity of sound is so pronounced for us and we're so trained that I can totally understand why all of the little things you're just super aware of and attuned to. So I can totally relate to that. And it's taken a while for me to find people that I can listen to without sort of thinking, oh man, I really hate how she does that, or he.
No, I totally understand. But going back to improvisation, I have some questions and I'm really curious. But of course, like, feel free to share whatever you feel comfortable sharing. As everyone knows, this is a safe space, and whatever you feel comfortable sharing is what we're happy to receive.
Amazing.
But I was curious to know, for you, or just in general, if improvisation has helped you access certain feelings or certain emotions or certain memories or certain things in your body, in your mind, in your subconscious. Like, I'm curious to know if it brings up things when you do improvisation, if it releases different things.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I think part of this is also, this path of like meditation, and then more specifically in the last few years, sort of doing a lot of somatic therapy, which is sort of feeling and releasing emotions through the body, and being more attentive to like really working with my body instead of against it. I mean, I think as musicians, we're so used to sort of being slave drivers to our bodies, drilling whatever the hard parts of our music are, or like being really frustrated when our bodies are tired and like, just pushing really beyond maybe where we should. And so for me, I think the real healing began when I started to listen to the body as like, oh, actually, a lot of things that I'm not conscious of, and really learning how to move and release that through the body. And then I've been able to sort of do that with the cello because I have this connection and, sort of stored muscle memory of how to play the cello, and I can express through the cello, right? So it's been a journey, really. I can't tell you, I mean, how much judgment, how much sadness and like rejection and like, all of that I think my body has stored for so long. And I never gave myself a compassionate witness to that. I just sort of was like, shut it down, or like, I don't have time to deal with this right now. I have a million other things to do, right? The whole hustle, being a freelancer, like really just trying to do all the things that I need to do to make my rent, all of these little things that take up our brain space allowed me to sort of push that down. And it wasn't until I gave myself the space to really express that, whether it's shaking it out, right? Like just like letting my body feel the sadness and feel the anger or feel the emptiness or feel, whatever it was. And I'm not talking about, I've been very, very thankful and grateful that I haven't had big T trauma in my life, but they're the little things.
They add up over time.
Right? And if you don't give yourself time to metabolize them, then they start to get disruptive in your life, right? At least that's what happens to me. And even though, this is just such a small thing, but if this helps anybody, I'd like to share like a little bit about the objectification of our bodies as performers, this feeling that we have to, feeling like we have to look a certain way on stage or be a certain way or have a certain type of body or wear a certain style of dress, or this may seem overreacting maybe. I used to say like, oh, it doesn't bother me, or like, that's so shallow or something. I used to sort of judge myself for feeling this way on top of it, which doesn't help.
Kind of like gaslighting yourself almost.
Yes. Right. And then, once I started to be like, actually, this sucks. I remember a time when I played for a panel for some scheme, I can't remember even what it was for, but it was some sort of competition or audition or something. And I got feedback from it. And I got the feedback that I shouldn't wear sleeveless dresses because my arms are unattractive when I play.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. I remember looking at that and being like, okay, that's bullshit. But, my body stored that. It stored that away. And in one of these moments, like years later, I remember having another sort of body moment where all of a sudden I had that memory. I hadn't thought about it for years, but it just came up. Oh yeah, this happened. And my body remembers it. And I just remember feeling so much disgust. Like, how dare you? So those are the kinds of things that in the moment you may dismiss them, but we react and the body remembers.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you for sharing this. It's actually very much in line with quite a few of the episodes that have happened in this season. I've had a few singers that have shared their stories of different sexual trauma, emotional trauma. And we talked a lot about how the body remembers, the body stores information and it stores trauma. And I want to go back to what you said earlier. I don't think you're overreacting at all. And I think we've also been conditioned to feel that if we're upset about something, that it's overreacting. So I would have said exactly the same thing. And I'm just going to put a marker for us to be like, hey, wait.
Yes.
But also this kind of stuff, like people don't realize how detrimental a tiny comment can be in someone's life.
Yeah.
They don't realize, like, it's a throwaway thing for them. They're like, oh, well, I don't want to see this person in this color, or I don't want to see this person wearing this type of clothing, so I'm going to say something. And as I think you and I both know, and any of us who might choose to go to therapy, very often someone's behavior or attitude is often a reflection of themselves, right?
Yes, absolutely.
But it's our responsibility to also work on our shit and not project it on other people. And I'm so thankful to have these. This is exactly why we have these kind of conversations, to bring awareness and to say, hey, it's not nice to say something like that. This age-old saying that we heard as kids, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Yep.
I don't know why we turn into adults and then forget about that.
Right. And also, if I had the chance to go back to that person to say, like, what is it within you that is getting triggered by seeing me on stage in this way? I'm sorry that what you're dealing with or whatever you feel has made you so that you have to project that onto me.
Absolutely.
And I would love, I can't even remember who it was that made that comment, but I wish, I could go back and have a conversation about it, because I think it only comes from, some sort of unresolved thing from that person, right? But don't have that chance.
Well, I don't know, as my therapist says, we can always, from our higher selves, send that message to their higher self.
Yes, absolutely.
If you believe that, whatever you
Yes,
believe.
yes.
I'm doing a sort of meditation journey right now with a group of people. And one of the exercises recently was to make a list of people in our lives that drain energy from us, whether it's an unresolved conflict or feelings of anger towards them, feelings of hurt, resentment, any of this stuff. And I wrote them down. And then the second part of the exercise was to write down a blessing to each of them, send it to them, and visualize letting them go.
Oh.
And I didn't think that I was going to be able to find a blessing inside me for each of these people. And I was actually very surprised that I did. I was able to find those blessings without a huge amount of resistance.
Wow.
And I honestly felt so much lighter after writing this down.
That sounds amazing. I mean, wow. What an incredible exercise. I mean, and compassion and really digging deep for forgiveness.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And that's the thing, because forgiveness is for us.
Yes.
It's not for someone else. Closure comes from within. It doesn't come from someone else.
Absolutely.
And when we hold on to pain or we hold on to anger, we're the ones who are suffering.
Absolutely. I just want to say one thing also about that, because sometimes I think about, well, I don't have anger or resentment. I don't have those like hot emotions,
right,
to a lot of people, right? I mean, of course, there's certain people that have angered me in the past and all that stuff. But for me, it's more like there are these tiny, I'm not even sure that I'm cognizant of them, but these recurring thoughts that like bug me about either what somebody said or like what I said or how I reacted, or these little tiny, they're like so small and so insignificant. They're like almost like little mosquitoes that like live in my head, like just stupid little things that I think don't really bother me. But then if I really look at them and I just pick one and I say, okay, let's like really look at this. Why is this bothering me? And then usually it's because it's a symptom of a much bigger issue, either with that person or with myself, mostly, that I need to look at, because it's disrupting my daily life.
Yeah.
And it's like nagging me and saying, hey, you haven't dealt with me. I'm still here.
Yeah.
And so that for me has been super, super therapeutic to like take a moment like you did with that exercise of just like really looking at that issue or that person and meeting it with compassion, meeting it with curiosity of like, what's below this? What's really the problem here? And usually it comes down to some basic hurt that I have, or some basic sort of belief that I have that isn't true or isn't necessary. So really just trying to be there for myself, right? Like I know we talk in some of these, therapeutic circles, we talk about the inner child and like doing, spending time with our inner child, but it truly is like spending time with the part of ourselves that is vulnerable and, needs our attention and love and care. And that has been transformative for me. And I must say, all of this work has been transformative for my playing.
Yeah, I can imagine. By the way, I'm so glad that you brought up the inner child, because I was literally just going to say that. So thank you.
We're on the same wavelength. Yes.
Please tell me more about that, because and how it has connected with your playing, because I feel that too. At the same time, I remember when I started therapy almost 3 years ago, and I started to really change some things and started, I had a big life change that happened, and it changed every aspect of my life. And so I needed to sort of rework everything and really dig deep into who I am and who I want to be. And am I being the person I want to be? Am I living for other people, or am I living for myself?
Yes, totally. I want to hear more about that. I have lots of questions. But
And it's been a very, I would say, sort of tumultuous journey for me, learning my connection to my inner child. And I'm still struggling a lot, because I think there's a lot of things that no matter how hard I'm working to fight against the metaphorical straitjacket that I have been wearing, mostly that I kept on myself, but that was also maybe initially put on me by society and culture and family and this and that and whatever, but then I kept it on myself for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really still hard sometimes. I think I find when I don't even know how to express this. I feel very sad for my inner child when I realize that I'm not giving myself compassion.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get more sad because that's exactly what I should be doing. But then I get like more mad at myself that I'm not having compassion for my inner child. And then it's just like a vicious cycle.
Yeah, that's not helping.
No. So I'm curious if you've had some more success. It sounds like maybe through, I don't know, through improvisation or through playing or...
I think for me, what's really helped, and a therapist sort of has helped me do this through meditation, is sort of feeling like almost envisioning your inner child and then envisioning like another part of yourself that is the judging part or the non-compassionate part or the part that feels disgust that you're having this issue with your inner child, right? And like almost asking that person or that part of you to like go into the other room for a second. Like, you're fine. It's fine. It's fine for you to have those judgments and have those feelings. But for right now, we're going to look at this other person and then we'll come back to that. Just to give yourself like a break from the part of yourself that's not being compassionate. I know that sounds like we have voices in our heads.
Oh my gosh. But no, seriously, I really like that you said that because my therapist just said something similar to me a couple weeks ago. I was talking to her about my anxiety and my constant like overthinking, especially when my anxiety spikes. Like I just go into like overthinking mode. And I was like, I really hate my brain sometimes because I just don't understand why it can't just calm down.
Yes.
You know? And she was like, okay, first of all, why don't you try and think of your anxiety overthinking brain as one person, and you are walking along and your anxiety or your overthinking is walking next to you and holding your hand because they want to protect you.
Yes.
It's a defense mechanism. They want to protect you. They don't want you to get hurt. They want to take care of you.
Yes.
And when you recognize that you are strong enough to be able to walk by yourself, you can turn to that part of you and say, thank you. Thank you for being there. Thank you for protecting me.
Yes.
I can go forward on my own.
Yes, exactly.
And she was saying it about many other aspects. And she was saying exactly that like it's okay to have these different kind of voices and conversations. What goes into the sort of negative shadow side of when it becomes, having voices in your head or having sort of delusional thoughts is when we react, jumping from voice to voice rather than being able to be conscious that this is just one aspect of us.
That's such a great distinction that it's not schizophrenia, right? Like it's not disordered. It's actually healthy, and that our nervous system is just trying to keep us safe. And so I love that. I mean, I think kind of going back to what we were talking about in terms of how it has impacted our playing, I think for me, this part of like regulating my nervous system out of either the hypervigilance, like the anxiety part, or like the freeze, or like the low energy kind, like sort of the extremes, right? And finding the tools to regulate that response when I feel like I need to be protected, when I feel like I need to be, for whatever reason, something that I'm not. Finding ways to soothe myself that are healthy and productive and that actually regulate my nervous system response has been the thing to combat pre-performance nerves or even people pleasing. Right? I know that sounds really weird, but like in chamber music, I feel that there's so much, and it's chamber music. It's in dealing with donors and audiences. It's in dealing with presenters. It's with always feeling like you have to please other people is a defense mechanism because you don't feel safe. Right. And you think that somehow by pleasing these people, then you're going to be safe.
That you're going to earn that love or that recognition or that acknowledgement or whatever.
Exactly. And so that has been huge. That one thing has just totally turned my performing around because I just have been able to go on stage and do what I do best and like actually play better because I'm not overthinking. I'm not freezing up when I have a solo or being hyper vigilant about like, wait, oh no, what was I supposed to do here? And all of the things that go on in our heads. So That has been amazing.
Or what will they think of my interpretation? I hope my balance
Yes.
is okay. I hope the sound is okay. Rather than
Yes.
focusing on all of that, what if, what if, what if, just be, just play, just
Mm-hmm.
be ourselves and share authentically. And
Yes.
when we do that, I mean, of course, it takes a lot of practice. And I think, I hope, but I think I've also reached a point where I don't care what people think anymore. I know that some people will like my playing and some people won't. Some people will connect with my playing and some people won't.
Mm-hmm.
Because we cannot be for everyone just the way everyone is not for us.
Yes. Oh,
But when we share from our hearts, from our souls, from our authentic selves, someone will connect,
mm-hmm.
someone will resonate. And I mean, isn't that why we play?
Yes, exactly.
Experience that energy exchange and experience those magical moments.
Exactly. And that's really sort of going back to my artist statement that you read at the beginning about these moments where that we share on stage. I mean, these are some of the most potent, most incredible moments of connection and authentic joy and living the human experience. And if I'm thinking about either what I just played or if somebody's going to like it, I am missing that moment. I'm not present. And then all of the things that fly by us that we don't even realize, and we think, what happened to the last week, 10 days, month, year? It's really been an incredible thing to be able to enjoy myself living through what I'm doing. And it doesn't have to be a Carnegie Hall concert in order for me to enjoy it. It can be literally playing at a coffee shop like we did.
Exactly. Well, honestly, sometimes I feel like those are more enjoyable when it's more intimate because you're not worried about people judging you somehow.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you so much for being here. I seriously could talk to you for hours.
Yes, well, it's truly my pleasure. And I cannot thank you enough for even just being, so vulnerable and so open with everybody. You are truly doing a service to all of us artists and just normalizing this conversation because it's so needed. So thank you.
Thank you all so much for listening. I'm truly grateful for the support from each and every one of you. If you would like to submit any questions or topics for us to address on the show, you can send us a message on our Instagram page @ConsciousArtistPodcast. Help us to spread more awareness by sharing this episode with your friends, your colleagues, your teachers, and your students. And don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Sending you all so much love and strength to tackle this week, and we'll see you next Monday for another episode of The Conscious Artist.